My mother-in-law looked me dead in the eye at the dinner table and said, "This house will never have your name on it." And honestly, that was the moment I stopped being the daughter-in-law who kept her mouth shut. Okay, so here's the situation. My husband, I'll call him Darren, and I have been married for 6 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter, another baby on the way, and for the last 3 of those 6 years, we have been living in a house that Darren's parents technically own. They bought it as an investment property back in the 90s, but when Darren and I got together, they offered to let us live there for a below market rent. Sweet deal, right? And it genuinely was. We're grateful. I want to be clear about that because it matters for what comes next. The arrangement was always presented as temporary. The plan Darren and I talked about constantly, the plan his parents verbally agreed to at least twice, was that once we'd saved enough for a down payment, we'd buy the house from them at a fair price and it would become ours. Ours, joint, both names on the deed. Darren's parents are lovely people in a lot of ways. His mom, Rhonda, volunteers at the school. She babysits our daughter without complaint. She brings soup when someone's sick. His dad, Gerald, is quiet, lets Rhonda do the talking, and mostly stays in his lane. I genuinely like them. Past tense is doing a lot of work in that sentence. So, 3 months ago, Darren's sister, Petra, goes through a divorce. Brutal split, nobody saw it coming, and she ends up in a bad financial spot. I feel for her, genuinely. But then Darren comes home one evening and says, casually, like he's mentioning the weather, "My parents are thinking about putting the house in Petra's name, just temporarily, to help her qualify for some kind of financial assistance." I just stared at him. Temporarily, I said. Yeah, just on paper. It doesn't change anything for us. And I said, Darren, our names aren't on it either. So what exactly are we protected by here? A handshake. He didn't have a great answer for that. He said his parents would never do anything to hurt us. He said family doesn't work like that. And look, I wanted to believe him. I really did, but we have a child. We have another coming. We have been pouring money into this house, new floors, the kitchen renovation, the roof repair 2 summers ago that we split with his parents. That was our money going into a property that legally has nothing to do with us. So I asked Rhonda directly. We sat down, just the two of us, and I said, if Petra's name is going on this house, I think it's time we talk seriously about ours going on it too. I was calm. I was reasonable. I had a folder with comparable sale prices in the neighborhood. I was ready to have an adult conversation. And that's when she said it. This house will never have your name on it. Just like that, matter of fact, like it had always been decided, and I was the only one who hadn't gotten the memo. I asked her why. She said the house was family. I said, I am family. She said, you know what I mean? And yeah, I knew exactly what she meant. Blood. She meant blood. I've been in this family for 6 years. I'm carrying her grandchild, but I'm not blood, so I don't count. I went home and I told Darren everything. And to his credit, he was upset at his mom, not at me, for about 48 hours. Here's where I may have crossed a line. Or, and I want you to hear me out, here's where I finally stopped being a pushover, depending on how you look at it. I called a real estate attorney, not to threaten anyone, just to understand our position. And what I learned was that we had potentially contributed enough to the property, between documented repairs, consistent rent, and some verbal agreements, that there might be something called a resulting trust argument. Basically, you can sometimes claim an equitable interest in a property you've invested in, even without your name on the deed. I'm not a lawyer, I'm just telling you what I was told. I wrote Rhonda and Gerald a letter. Formal, on letterhead from the attorney's office. It outlined our financial contributions to the property over 3 years, referenced the verbal agreements about eventual purchase, and asked them to sit down with a mediator to discuss formalizing our arrangement before any other name, including Petra's, went on that deed. Rhonda called Darren crying. She said I had threatened the family. Gerald stopped speaking to me. Petra, who I have always gotten along with, who I genuinely like, sent me a text that said, I can't believe you do this while I'm going through what I'm going through. Darren looked at me across the kitchen and said, did you really need to get a lawyer involved? And I said, did your mother really need to tell me my name would never be on this house? We haven't resolved it. The house is still in his parents' names. Petra's name never went on it either. That got quietly dropped, which, okay, good, but nothing changed for us either. We're still here, still paying rent, still technically living in someone else's property with no legal protection, and now every family dinner has the energy of a hostage negotiation. Darren says I should have come to him first before the attorney. He's not wrong. I know he's not wrong. But I'd tried coming to him first, and he'd spent 48 hours upset on my behalf before slowly migrating back to, Let's not rock the boat. What was I supposed to do? Just wait until his parents decided our arrangement wasn't convenient anymore. A few weeks later, Rhonda made a comment at Sunday dinner, something about how some people think legal threats solve family problems, and I just sat there and ate my food and said nothing. Which, honestly, might be the most damning thing I've done in this whole situation, because I'm still here, still at that table, still without my name on a single piece of paper. So, am I the problem here? Was the attorney letter the move of someone protecting her family, or was it the move of someone who blew up a relationship that didn't need to be blown up? Because I genuinely don't know anymore. Because here's the thing that keeps me up at night. We have a daughter who calls this place home. We have a baby coming. And if something happened, if Darren and I fell apart, if his parents changed their minds, if Petra needed the asset liquidated in her divorce settlement somehow, we would have nothing. No legal claim, no recourse. Just years of rent receipts and a kitchen we renovated with our own savings. Was I wrong to protect that? Or was I wrong for how I did it? Honestly, though, what would you have done? Comment below.